Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, a show where we discuss TV, film, and more.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about The Acolyte, Episode 6. This is basically what happened on this one. So Osha wakes up in this beautiful world called Unknown Planet because at this point the writers just gave up. They have no creativity anymore. So anyway, she wakes up on this island and it looks like Luke Skywalker's island, except this one's filled with flaccid penis nosebirds or something. Kind of an interesting design choice, I feel. Meanwhile, Sol is trying to get in contact with the Jedi Council, but to no avail. May, who decides this time that she's really evil for real now, she's gonna go up and stab Sol, but then Sol's like, could you man the ship? I gotta go take a piss. So May's like, oh, okay, sure. But after that, I'm gonna stab you, for real. Because, she's a really considerate evil assassin, I guess, this time. Meanwhile, back on the unknown planet, Osha goes up to Kamir, sees him taking a bath, and she's like, oh, why did you bring me here? What's going on? Why'd you kidnap me? Blah, 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 blah. And Kamir's like, well, the reason I brought you here is because your sister is extremely poorly written and doesn't know what her motivations are, so I'm going to start with you instead and hope for the best. Meanwhile, back on the ship, May, the all-powerful force-using assassin, gets bested by the non-binary beaver and the Game Boy SP. And also Sol knocks May out, basically goes like, hey, listen, if you're not going to be evil, I'm going to be evil. One of us has got to be consistently evil on this ship. Then we go back to the cave. Osha's like, hey, man, why'd you kill all my friends? And Kamir's like, you barely talked to them in the last 5 episodes. What do you mean friends? What makes you think there's an emotional connection between you and them? Anyway, eat your damn soup. And then all of a sudden Osha's like, you know what? I think I'm evil now. And Kamir's like, aha. Hopefully that sticks. And also, side note, in the subplot absolutely no one cares about except for Leslie Headland because it's her damn wife. Venestra goes back to Wookiee Planet to find all the dead Jedi around and makes her single most important contribution to the episode, brandishes her lightsaber whip. And the whole thing ends with Sol going 50 Shades of Grey on May's ass and Osha wearing Darth Toothy Greeny helmet guy's helmet on her head and making Darth Vader noises because, nostalgia, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's the whole episode.
Yeah, you were mentioning that unknown planet they're on. I think that planet is called Octo, right? That's where Luke was, like you were saying in the sequels. It's just that vast ocean with the archipelagos. And I like how that place looks. Like, obviously, visually, it's stunning. And so some of those shots were really good, just like Kofar in the previous episode. But once again, that's probably one of the only positive things I can say. I want to say it was like 15 minutes into it. And I specifically remember this, taking a sip of my drink and thinking to myself, God damn, this is getting boring, man. I'm bored. Like, what's up with this?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I was watching this episode too, it was a good, maybe that long or 20 minutes. And I was like, you know what? There's some good ideas here that they were trying to do, but it took a very, very long time. Like, the only thing that was meaningful in terms of actual, development of the storyline was the whole Chimera and Osha thing. He's just, oh yeah, I used to be a Jedi. This is why I use the dark side. Blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. I was like, okay, we're getting just a teeny bit closer to the point. Yeah, but there's a whole lot of nothing happening. The whole thing was Sol. The thing I mentioned in the last episode was just like, you know what? I don't think the writers will do this, but it'd be a lot better if Sol plays it off like he's a dummy. But then it turns out, no, he was on to May the entire time. He knew it was her. And that's exactly what happened. I'm like, okay, props, writers, props. You did it.
Or somehow that tracker, Basil, was able to convey to him somehow. I'm not sure if Soul can understand what Basil says. Like, some of them can, I think Yord or a few of them could understand, right, of course, and communicate with Basil.
Yeah, I don't remember any scenes where Basil was talking to Sol. There is a scene where Basil basically plugs a little pip machine into the wall or something and just charges it. And then also him kicking May in the shins and running into the vent. I'm like, okay, all right, sure. I could foresee a scene like that happening, and it makes sense if she was disoriented or something, but she was straight up, soberly, looking at this thing, and she got bested by him. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm like, what's going on here?
One thing I really didn't like was you had the previous episode, and it was intense, it was dark. 7 out of 8 Jedi were killed, right? Then this episode, on the ship for a bit, it's much lighter. There's even attempts at humor with Pip, the droid, and then the tracker, Basil, and May. I really didn't like that. There's a time and a place for humor and levity. I don't feel this episode was the place for it, at least that part of it. And I'm sure there's some people who enjoyed it, but for me, I genuinely felt that it was misplaced.
No, I agree. I mean, we're going back a few steps. My friend was saying, it felt like we went 1 step forward and 5 steps back. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
The one step being the action was cool in the last one. We got some revelations. In this one, there's a whole lot of nothing. I'm like,
Yeah,
And what? There are 2 more episodes after this? Like,
2 more. Yeah, I mean we're almost done here.
what the hell else is going to be unveiled for the rest of this show? Because I think it's way past the point that this show's ever going to get redeemed. You either absolutely hate this show, or for some reason you love it, or maybe you like it. I don't know. Or maybe you think it's mediocre. I just think it's just like so horribly, hideously boring. The show should have
Yeah.
never, ever, ever been greenlit. Shame on you all. Shame on you all at Lucasfilm.
Years ago when they were discussing it, what the idea was about it, there were going to be more in-depth analysis of the Sith. It's going to be a different story, 100 years, 150 years before Phantom Menace. So, I mean, those are good things, and there was a lot of potential there, and they just, made a mess of it. So, I mean, I was happy this was greenlit, and I was looking forward to it, just like, many of us were. And ultimately, it's just been really disappointing. And we can't say that enough. And that's the general consensus. I mean, there are people who are truly enjoying it, and that's great. I'm happy those people are enjoying it and don't have many complaints about it. But the majority of us do have issues, some more than others. But this is a very flawed show. And I would be shocked if Disney doesn't acknowledge it, doesn't realize it, and doesn't work to correct the mistakes in the future.
They know. They know. It's now a matter of whether or not they're going to double, triple, quadruple down at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they may double down on it.
Yeah, they could be like, you know what? F you all. We're going to be doing our Star Wars, and this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm all like, all right, see your viewership decline. Woo.
Oof.
Because at this point, it's just like a lot of the newer generation doesn't care about Star Wars. It's really an older generation's kind of franchise, and you're alienating that base. So at this point, it's like, who are you making Star Wars for at this point?
I understand you have to get the new audience as well, get more people interested, but you shouldn't do it entirely at the expense of us OG fans. I don't think that's a good approach. And you should be able to generate interest with the new audience, a younger audience, without compromising what it's all about. That's something that they're struggling with, and it's a problem, man.
Other than that, I don't know what else to talk about in this episode. This is just a nothing burger. I can't eat a nothing burger because there's nothing in the burger.
Yo, Goober, where's the meat?
Yeah. One thing I did say last episode, I did say that I knew something was going to happen about the bodies of the Jedi on Kofar that were left there. You knew they weren't just going to leave them there. I was under the impression Saul will scurry off to the ship, have an SOS, call for reinforcements, and then go back and gather the bodies for cremation. In this episode, it's Venestra who's on Kofar, and she says we need to prepare the bodies for burial. That's a bit strange to me because Jedi are typically cremated. I associate cremation with the Jedi. Examples would be Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin Skywalker, and many more. And I associate the Sith more with burials. For example, there's the Valley of the Dark Lords, which, for all of you who've played Knights of the Old Republic, you go there on Korriban. You got a bunch of burial tombs. Ajun Tapal, who's the first Dark Lord of the Sith. You got Marco Ragnos, you got Naga Sadow, Tulak Hord, a whole bunch of people. And there's several more. So I associate the Sith with burials, and so I don't know what they're trying to do here. Here's what I speculate is going to happen after this episode. Osha puts the helmet on. It's going to get stuck. The helmet's going to get stuck. She's going to freak out. She's going to trip and fall down the cliff into the ocean. That's the end of season 1. Season 2, Chimera's got to find a new apprentice. He's going to choose that tracker animal, Basil. And together, Chimera and Basil will attempt to take over the galaxy.
Until you find out the big plot twist in that season. Dun dun dun! Osha and May are not only twins, they're actually triplets.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, there's a third one. And then you find out in the next season, dun dun dun, they're not actually sisters, they're clones.
Oh.
I mean, like,
There
they
you
might
go.
as well go the soap opera route for given how absurd everything is. All right, so, well, guys, that was episode 6. I am not looking forward to episode 7, but you know what? We're balls deep in this whole thing, so we might as well finish this, right?
2 more to go. 2 more to go. Let's then wrap it up, and then everything is fine.
Yeah, just rip the Band-Aid off. Just, you
Yeah.
know, just go full speed ahead. All right, guys, so like and subscribe. We appreciate
Oh, yeah.
that, and we'll be seeing you next week.
Thank you. Cheers.